Hi again then guys, and so we've got another special project replica build for you today, and this time, as you can see, it's based on the Callaway C12, and the particular replica that we're actually going for is in the style of Callaway's C12 racing model called the C12 GT2-R, and this is actually a much lower PP racing replica than the style that I would usually do. Usually my tunes tend to be around 575 PP minimum for these racing replicas. So this makes a nice change. It makes it more relevant for lower PP racing, of course, and a potentially highly competitive car. Having driven it, I have to say, I honestly don't understand why the PP on this model is so low, because it's a very, very good car. So, as always, I'll show you how to get the visual look of the car, which in the case of this one is pretty simple. Then obviously we'll go over to the garage for the mechanical setup, and finally out to the track to see what it's capable of. So, as you'd expect with a non-premium model, the visual setup for this car is pretty simple to achieve. Basically, you want a custom rear wing. We've gone for the Type F wing supports, which are these greyish silver supports at the bottom of the wing. We've gone for the Type B wing itself, which gives you this little dipped section in the centre of the wing. And we've gone for the Type A winglets on the end. As far as the dimensions, we've gone for the highest height, which still isn't all that high, and it sits just right for this car. And we've gone for the maximum width, which again makes it look pretty much perfect for the proportions of the vehicle. For the rims, we've gone for inch up 1, and the particular rims we've gone for are these BBS REMG rims. And as far as the paint, we've just painted the car and the wing silver, of course, and the rims black. So pretty simple. You can go for pretty much whatever colour you want, because this isn't a replica of a specific team. You could consider it more as like a base model kind of thing. So just paint it whatever colour you want, really. So, pretty simple visual setup, like I said. So now let's go over to the tuning garage for the mechanical setup. Now, as I said, I'm not sure really why the PP on this car is as low as it is, because the performance is at least as good, I would say, as say a 550 PP or potentially even a 575 PP vehicle. But as it is, it's very good to have it as low as this car is, because it means it's highly competitive. So I've gone for racing soft tyres, but of course just go for whichever ones you're the most comfortable with. I've increased the rear brake balance to 6. You don't have to do that, that's just one of my personal preferences with most of my cars. For the suspension, we've got the front ride height as low as possible, the rear 15mm higher, and basically that's to even out the height of the body, because you don't really want it with its nose in the air for track use. We've increased the springs to 1325 and 1075, dampers to 5, anti-roll all the way up to 7, camber on 3 with neutral toe. For the gearbox, we've gone for an auto setting of 230, then we've rounded off the gears to 3350, 2175, 1550, 1175, 925 and 775 with a final drive of 3.2. For the diff, the lowest initial torque, high acceleration, and we've got braking sensitivity on 10. As far as the power, we do have an oil change on this one, so you need to bear that in mind. And we've gone for the race exhaust and the race manifold, and then reduced the power down to 97.9 to bring it up to this particular PP. Now the real car has about 480 horsepower, so it depends really how accurate you want it to be to the real car, because the specs at the moment, I've tried to make it as PP relevant as possible. Whereas if you increase this up to, of course, the actual power of the car, it takes you out of a practical PP range. So I've decided to just negate that 6 horsepower for the sake of making it more relevant. We've got the rear downforce as high as possible, the full weight loss package, and a 37 kilo ballast, which again brings us to a similar weight to the real racing model, which we've put all the way to the back to bring it closer to a 50-50 split, and as well to bring it up to our 525 PP level. So that's it for the mechanical setup on this model. Now let's finally go out to the track to see what it's capable of. Now, as I actually mentioned in one of my videos the other day, this is kind of an unsung hero on Gran Turismo. It's a brilliant car, which most people seem to just forget in favour of more obvious choices. Its main rivals in its stock form would be stuff like the Corvette, the Viper, some European rivals like Ferraris, etc. But in its racing spec, at this particular PP, its rivals are actually in some ways inferior to this car, which is a good thing. It gives you an advantage at that PP level. This is much more of an exotic style of vehicle than most of the other racing models at the 525 PP category. At that level, you're looking at more like touring cars or hot hatches that have been converted for racing use, whereas this is a full-on supercar in effect that you've detuned, or not so much detuned, but outfitted for a lower level of PP racing. And I have to say, it's a brilliant car to drive. The handling is incredibly good. The brakes do an excellent job. And thanks to the fact that it doesn't have a huge amount of power, it's actually very easy to drive fast as well. So if you're a relatively inexperienced driver or less experienced with replicas, this is, I would say, a good place to start from. Very forgiving car to drive, but also very, very fast and highly competitive, especially given its 525 PP category. And despite not having the most power in the game, it's certainly no slouch. So, if you found this fun or helpful, feel free to subscribe for more special projects in the future. And as always, thanks for watching.